Well, I had a recording showing my dumping of NVDY, but somehow I lost it. So I'm going to have to try to explain this without that video. But basically, NVDY is a Yieldmax fund. I've been experimenting with that NVDY and also experimenting with AMZY. I still have my AMZY, and I'm going to dump that soon too. And stick around till the end. I'll tell you how and when I'm going to do that. But I don't have the screenshot of me recording dumping. I was going to find some satisfaction in that. But basically, these Yieldmax funds, you can see here, pick these up at an average cost at 22, and it's trading right now at 1957. That's pretty good. It's starting to grow up. It's starting to climb up after being down for quite a few months. I picked these up, I don't know, in July at like 22 something, and it's just gone down ever since. And the way these Yieldmax funds work is they do covered calls, and they collect money from that, and then they distribute those funds to their investors as dividends. But they don't own the underlying stock. They make a synthetic, almost like a poor man's covered call on some of these. They do a synthetic trade. They don't own the underlying, but they do a synthetic trade against the underlying. So if they don't make enough to distribute, what they'll do is they'll pull some money out of the net asset value, which is also called the NAV. And so that's called NAV erosion when you invest a whole bunch of money in these funds, and they're pretty much paying you some of the dividends, but then they pay you some of your own money back. So it seems like you're getting a nice big dividend, but really for AMZY, let's look here. I'm down $1,700 here because my NAV has eroded. And oftentimes you'll see in the charts, they'll pay out, it'll drop down, then it'll climb back up again, then they'll pay out again, it'll drop down. That's because they're pulling money out of the NAV to pay dividends. So it's not really a dividend. There's a problem with that because over time, your NAV is going to erode. They're not going to have enough money to make as much on their covered calls. So everything just kind of decays away. And so these sound like a good idea. People are chasing the dividends. So I bought 42 shares back in May at $22.98. Then I bought 68 shares May 7th. And then I got 100 shares May 22nd. Made my first dividend at 200 and reinvested that with drip. And bought 100 shares in June. And bought 150 shares. More 150 later on in June, purchased another 150 shares, and then in July picked up 100 shares here, 2,200 at the $22 strike average price of 22, and I picked up some more same day in July at 21. So then I got another dividend that was reinvested, 358. And let's see, since then I've just been collecting dividends. So I collected another 324. In August and September, 460. Now, Yieldmax has recently switched to doing weekly distributions. And so the last time I got paid was September 9th. It's now October 11th, and they're not going to pay out this one. They're starting to pay out weekly, but they're going to not pay this one out until starting October 23rd. So hopefully I'll get a big distribution. But it's deceiving because those dividends, part of those dividends, they come out of NAV, and all these Yieldmax funds, at least, the NAV just decays over time. So I'm going to dump these. So I started to acquire NVDY in about August, and I collected 262 there, plus September 299, plus 243. So that comes up to 804, and I don't have the video, but if I showed you my NVDY, it would have showed, just like AMZY does, a total return of about minus 700. So I pretty much broke even. I sold them all, collected this much, 804 in dividends, but my NAV was down 700. So it's kind of a wash. And pretty much, they pay you your own money back. You're almost better just buying the underlying stock, letting it go up. Buy a stock that can pay a dividend if you want a dividend, but you're not going to have your capital erode like these do. So some people like to collect the dividends, but over time they're just not good. So I'm getting out of them. So that's one big problem, is the NAV erosion. Another big problem is that you're getting dividends, and with your own money back, it's creating a taxable event. So you're getting taxed on those dividends. And for the privilege of trading these, you got high fees. So just for NVDY, for example, let's look at the expense. It's a 0.99% expense ratio. You're better off just putting this money into like an index fund that's got like a 0.03 or a 0.06 expense ratio. So you're not paying for the privilege of having your own money paid back to you in a taxable event. So I just dumped my NVDY, and I'm dumping my AMZY as soon as I get paid on the 23rd, or just after the 23rd when those distributions come out, because what I've been paid so far is like $13.42, and I expect a large dividend to cover this and bring this up past $1,700 to cover my NAV erosion. So I'll pretty much just break even on this. I'm going to get my money back, this $13,000 and some, and be able to invest that. And what you're doing is you're paying someone else to do covered calls for you, and this channel is all about selling covered calls and cash secured puts. So I might as well just do this myself, not have the NAV erode, make the premium myself, and not have to pay a fee for anyone to do it for me, and just pay regular capital gains. So that's my experiment in Yieldmax. I don't really recommend this, not that I'm making recommendations, but I'm experimenting with a few shares in some of these other high yield funds, but I expect they'll probably do the same. But a lot of these have been holding their NAV. So I've got 2 shares here, 4 shares here, 4, 4, 3, 3, and these other similar kind of ETFs. And a lot of these are switching to weekly payouts. So I'm just seeing how these go. But as far as the Yieldmax himself, it's not for me. And I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.